Han Sol stood on his bridge and remembered something his grandfather had told him. The old man had served on ocean ships back on Earth. Back before humanity reached the stars, he had fought in wars when ships were made of steel and floated on water instead of flying through space. Never abandon ship while you can still fight, his grandfather had said. A ship is not just metal. It is the people who keep it alive. That lesson had been learned over thousands of years. Human ships had always been tools of survival. When ancient humans crossed oceans in wooden boats, they learned to repair damage while still at sea. Because turning back meant death. Going forward meant life. Later, when humans built steamships and aircraft carriers and submarines, the lesson remained the same. You did not retreat to repair. You repaired so you could keep fighting. Airplane mechanics fixed fighter planes between missions while bombs fell around them. Submarine crews patched leaks while enemy ships hunted them in the deep. It was not bravery. It was necessity. Humanity had brought that necessity to space. Captain, the Krell are regrouping, Bora reported. They're preparing for another attack. Han Sol nodded. Let them come. Daejung, how are we looking? The chief engineer's voice came through the intercom. We're at 70% capacity. Not great, but we'll manage. On the Vraxian flagship, Admiral Thane Cross had arrived to take command of the Council fleet. He was Torvik, a species that had fought wars for 20,000 years. His 4 eyes studied the tactical display with interest. Show me the human ship's combat data, he ordered. Kira-sun transferred the information to his station. Thane Cross read through it carefully. His expression did not change, but inside he was recalculating everything he thought he knew about warfare. They have been in continuous combat for 43 minutes, he said. No other species maintains combat effectiveness for more than 15 minutes after taking critical damage. The data is verified, Admiral, Kira-sun confirmed. The human vessel repairs damage as it occurs. They do not follow the retreat-repair-return cycle. Velthar approached his admiral. Sir, I have fought in 72 battles. I have never seen anything like this. Thane Cross turned his 4 eyes to the Vraxian commander. Because there is nothing like this. Every species in the galaxy follows the same doctrine. We take damage, we retreat to safe distance, we repair, we return to battle. This creates a predictable pattern. But the humans break that pattern, Velthar said. Exactly. They repair and fight simultaneously. This is not a tactic. This is their culture. Kira-sun pulled up historical data on her screens. I have been studying human history. Admiral, humans evolved on a planet classified as a death world. Everything on their planet tried to kill them. They survived by adapting, by refusing to give up, by fixing what was broken even while danger surrounded them. She displayed images of Earth, storms, volcanoes, earthquakes, predators. Their planet taught them that retreat often means death. So they learned to hold their ground and adapt instead. Thane Cross studied the images, and now they bring that lesson to space warfare. Yes, Admiral. The mathematics are significant. A human ship can remain in combat 3 times longer than an equivalent vessel from any other species. They do not retreat until they are truly destroyed. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. This changes everything. If the human fleet adopts this as standard procedure, they will have an enormous tactical advantage. Not because their ships are better, but because they use them differently. On a Council observation ship, Ambassador Jae-hwan watched the battle. He was human, assigned to explain his people to the curious aliens around him. Several species had sent representatives to ask questions. A Lorathi diplomat spoke first. Ambassador, why does your ship not retreat? It is damaged. The logical action is to withdraw and repair. Jae-hwan smiled. Because we do not think retreat is logical. On Earth we have a saying, the best defense is not giving up. But your survival rates decrease the longer you remain in combat, another diplomat said. In the short term, yes, Jae-hwan agreed. But if we retreat, we give the enemy time to regroup. We give them confidence. We let them control the pace of battle. By staying and fighting, by repairing while we fight, we keep pressure on them. We confuse them. And confusion leads to mistakes. A Vraxian officer who was listening spoke up. You make war sound like it is about the mind, not just weapons. War has always been about the mind, Jae-hwan said. Weapons are just tools. The real battle is making your enemy believe they cannot win, and nothing breaks an enemy's belief faster than facing an opponent who will not die, no matter how much damage they take. The Krell were learning this lesson the hard way. War Chief Grath stared at his tactical display and tried to understand what was happening. His fleet had the numbers. His weapons were working fine. But that human ship was still there. Still fighting. Still refusing to die. We have hit them over 100 times, his weapons officer said. Their hull shows critical damage across multiple sections. But they keep fighting. Grath's mind raced. He had fought many battles. He knew how prey behaved. When you hurt prey, it ran. When you cornered prey, it died. But this prey was not following the rules. Every time he damaged the human ship, they repaired it. Every time he thought he had won, they proved him wrong. It was frustrating. Worse, it was frightening. Because if he could not defeat one small human frigate, what did that say about his skills as a war chief? All ships focus fire on the human vessel, he ordered. I want overwhelming force. Destroy them now. 15 Krell ships turned toward the Defiant, their weapons charged. This would be the killing blow. On the Defiant, alarm sounded. Captain, multiple ships targeting us, Bora said. They're concentrating fire. Hansol did not look worried. He looked focused. Evasive pattern delta. Engineering, I need everything you can give me. Daejung was already moving. Rerouting power to engines and shields. You'll have maximum thrust for 90 seconds. Yujin worked beside him, her hands flying over the controls. She was exhausted. They all were. But exhaustion was just a feeling. The work was what mattered. The Krell fired. The space around the Defiant filled with plasma bolts. The human ship twisted and turned, dodging with desperate grace. Some shots missed. Others hit shields that flared and held. Barely. Inside the ship, the crew held on as their vessel danced through weapons fire. It was not elegant. It was survival. Raw and desperate and human. Hansol watched his display. He was not just dodging. He was thinking ahead. The Krell were putting everything into this attack. That meant they were grouping together, making themselves a bigger target. Bora, I need firing solutions on their cluster. Captain, if we fire, we'll have to drop shields for 3 seconds. I know. Do it on the Vraxian flagship. Thane Cross leaned forward. What is he doing? Velthar understood. He is going to attack while they attack him. He is insane. No, the Admiral said slowly. He is brilliant. The Defiant stopped dodging. For 3 seconds it flew straight. Its shields dropped. Every weapon on the ship fired at once. Missiles, railguns, energy beams, everything. The concentrated firepower hit the Krell cluster. 5 ships exploded instantly. 3 more were crippled. The survivors scattered, their formation broken. But the Defiant paid a price. Without shields, enemy fire struck directly. The ship's hull tore open in multiple places. Systems failed. Smoke filled corridors. Daejung's voice was tight with strain. We've got major damage. Decks 4 through 7 are venting atmosphere. Reactor containment is fluctuating. Can you fix it? Hansol asked. There was a pause. Then Daejung laughed. It was a tired, half-crazy laugh. Can I fix it? Captain, just tell me what you need this ship to do and I'll make it happen. That was the human way, Hansol thought. You did not ask if something was possible. You asked what needed to be done and then you found a way to do it. Yujin led repair teams through the damaged sections. They wore environment suits because the atmosphere was gone. They worked in vacuum and smoke and sparking electrical fires. They patched holes and rerouted systems and refused to stop. Kira Sun recorded everything. Her logical mind struggled to process what she was seeing. By every calculation, the human ship should be dead. The damage was too extensive. The systems were too compromised. But the humans did not care about calculations. They cared about results. She spoke into her recorder. Observation. Human combat doctrine is based on adaptive persistence. They do not measure success by avoiding damage. They measure success by continuing to function despite damage. This is fundamentally different from all known species approaches. She paused, then continued. Note, this doctrine requires exceptional crew training and morale. The humans must trust their repair systems absolutely. They must have confidence that damage can be fixed. This level of trust suggests deep cultural conditioning. Further study required. Admiral Thane Cross turned to his staff. I am sending a report to the Council. Human vessels should be reclassified. They do not fit our existing combat categories. What classification do you suggest, Admiral? An officer asked. Thane Cross thought about what he had witnessed. Ships that would not die, crews that would not quit, a species that had learned survival on a death world and brought those lessons to the stars. One drop of blood, and Earth set the galaxy. Ablaze Captain HFY stood in the cargo bay of the stealth ship Shadow's Edge. Around her, 20 members of Ghost Protocol checked their equipment. They were the best soldiers Earth had. Silent, precise, invisible when they needed to be. Mission briefing is simple, HFY said. Her team gathered close. We're not here to kill anyone. We're here to make sure everyone knows exactly who died on the Unity's promise. One of her soldiers, a young man named Quan, raised his hand. Captain, why aren't we hitting military targets? Why civilian colonies? HFY pulled up a holographic display. It showed faces, 73 faces, the crew of the Unity's promise. Because the Vrelian military killed civilians, diplomats, scientists, engineers, people who carried no weapons, people who came in peace. She looked at each member of her team. We're going to make sure every Vrelian knows their names, knows their faces, knows exactly what their empire did. The Shadow's Edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel above the Vrelian colony world of Reshnar. The planet had 8 million inhabitants, farms, cities, schools, families. Ghost Protocol infiltrated the planet's communication network within 3 hours. HFY's team did not destroy anything. They did not harm anyone. They simply took control. Every screen on the planet changed at the same moment. Televisions in homes, displays in public squares, computers in offices. All of them showed the same thing. A face. A human face. A name appeared below it. Lieutenant Yunsora, age 27. Communications officer. She had just gotten engaged. The wedding was scheduled for next spring. The image changed. Another face. Engineer Park Dae-jung, age 41. He had 3 children. They are now orphans. For 6 hours the broadcast continued. 73 faces, 73 names. 73 lives that the Vrelian Empire had destroyed. The message was clear. You did this. Know what you did? Remember who you killed? Then Ghost Protocol disappeared, leaving no trace they had ever been there, except for the memory that would haunt every Vrelian on that world. Admiral Tae-Yang's fleet arrived at Colony World Designation 742 exactly on schedule. The Vrelian Defense Fleet was waiting. 50 warships formed a defensive line between the human fleet and the planet. It was an impressive force, more than enough to defeat most attackers. But Tae-Yang did not attack. His flagship moved to the front of the human formation. Every Vrelian ship locked weapons on it. Tae-Yang activated the public broadcast channel. His face appeared on screens across the Vrelian fleet and on the planet below. I am Admiral Tae-Yang of the Earth Defense Fleet. This world has been claimed by Earth as compensation for the murder of 73 human citizens. You have 72 hours to evacuate all civilians. We will provide transport ships if needed. We will provide food and medical supplies. We will ensure everyone gets off this world safely. The Vrelian fleet commander responded immediately. You cannot be serious. You expect us to abandon an entire colony world? This is our home. It was your home, Tae-Yang said. His voice had no anger in it. Just certainty. Now it belongs to Earth. You have 72 hours. After that, this world will no longer support Vrelian life. You're bluffing. You would not murder 8 million civilians. Tae-Yang stared directly into the camera. We are not the ones who murdered civilians. You are. We will not repeat your crime. That is why you have 72 hours. Use them. The transmission ended. The human fleet did not move. They simply waited, counting down. On Axis Prime, the Galactic Council emergency session had been going for 6 straight hours. Ambassador Jiwoo stood at her platform, surrounded by angry representatives from a dozen species. This is genocide. The Talarian ambassador shouted. You cannot simply take inhabited worlds. We are not committing genocide, Jiwoo replied calmly. We are offering safe evacuation to every civilian. The Vrelian Empire committed murder. They destroyed an unarmed ship and killed 73 people. We are showing more mercy than they did. The council arbiter, an ancient being named Kelvesh, raised one hand. The chamber fell silent. Kelvesh had served the council for 3 centuries. His species was old when humans were still living in caves. When he spoke, everyone listened. Ambassador Jiwoo, Kelvesh said slowly. What Earth is doing is unprecedented. In all council history, no species has declared war over so few deaths. We have established systems for resolving such disputes. Systems that have kept the peace for thousands of years. Jiwoo pulled out another data chip. May I present evidence to the council? Kelvesh gestured approval. Jiwoo uploaded her data. The screens filled with reports. Incident after incident. Over the past 10 years, the Vrelian Empire had killed 247 citizens from 12 different species. Always with the same excuse. Always in their restricted zones. Always followed by blood price payments that the council accepted. You taught them this was acceptable, Jiwoo said. Every time you accepted their credits instead of demanding justice, you told them that life is cheap. That murder has a price and they can afford to pay it. She looked around the chamber. Well, humans do not think life is cheap, and we will not accept your corrupt system. 3 species stood up. The Kresh, the Yoltan, the Finvar. Their ambassadors spoke in turn, pledging support to the Vrelian Empire. They called Earth's actions aggressive, dangerous, a threat to the entire galactic order. Jiwoo listened without interrupting. When they finished, she simply nodded. Then you have chosen your side. I hope you are prepared for the consequences. On a small research station far from any major system, Dr. Bora sat in a recording studio. She was Earth's leading expert on alien psychology. She understood how different species thought, how they processed information, what they feared. She had been ordered to create psychological warfare campaigns, to break enemy morale without firing shots, to make the cost of fighting Earth too high to bear. She began her broadcasts. Citizens of the Vrelian Empire. Her voice was gentle, almost kind. In 70 hours, Colony World Designation 742 will become uninhabitable to your species. Admiral Tae-Yang will deploy atmospheric processors. They will not destroy your world. They will simply change the air. The oxygen levels will increase. The nitrogen balance will shift. For humans, it will be perfect. For Vrelians, it will be poison. She pulled up schematics showing exactly how the processors worked. You can see the technology here. It is not a weapon. It is a terraforming tool. We use it to make dead worlds livable. Now we will use it to make your worlds ours. The broadcast continued every 6 hours, always calm, always detailed, always showing exactly what Earth would do next. Then Earth did exactly what Dr. Bora promised. The predictability was more terrifying than any surprise attack could be. The Vrelian Empire knew what was coming. They just could not stop it. The countdown reached 0. The Vrelian defense fleet had not moved. The civilians on the planet had not evacuated. They called Earth's bluff. Admiral Tae-Yang gave the order. 20 ships broke from the human formation. They were not warships. They were atmospheric processors, giant machines designed to change the air of entire planets. They descended through the atmosphere, spreading out across the world. The Vrelian fleet fired. Missiles and energy beams filled space, but the processors were shielded. And the moment the Vrelians opened fire, the human warships responded. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Human weapons technology had advanced in secret. While the galaxy believed Earth was still a primitive species, human scientists had been working, learning, building. The human fleet did not just match the Vrelian ships. They surpassed them. Within 20 minutes, the Vrelian defense fleet was debris. The processors reached the surface and activated. Over the next 12 hours, the air began to change. Vrelian citizens struggled to breathe. Their choice was simple now. Leave or die. The evacuation ships that Tae-Yang had offered were still there. Still waiting. Reluctantly, in shame and anger, the Vrelians began boarding them. Tae-Yang watched from his command chair. His tactical officer approached quietly. Sir, we've received word from Earth Command. Captain Haewon's mission was successful. The names and faces have been broadcast across 7 Vrelian colonies now. Good, Tae-Yang said. He pulled up the image of his daughter on his console. They wanted to make her death meaningless. Just another number in their calculations. We're teaching them that every number has a face. Every death has a name. Sir, the tactical officer hesitated. The council is condemning our actions. 3 species have allied with the Vrelians against us. Tae-Yang stood up. He walked to the main viewport and looked down at the planet below. Soon it would be a human world, the first of 73. Then we have more worlds to claim and more enemies to educate. Prepare the fleet. We move to the next target in 6 hours. Behind him, his crew acknowledged the order. Across human space, more ships were being launched. More soldiers were being deployed. Earth had made a promise. They would keep it, no matter how many enemies stood in their way. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Humans did not fight wars the way other species did. They did not calculate acceptable losses. They did not weigh costs against benefits. When you killed a human, when you took even one life, you declared war on all of humanity. One drop of blood, and Earth set the galaxy. Ablaze Lieutenant Sang-hoon checked his fighter's systems one more time. Everything showed green. Fuel cells at maximum. Weapons loaded. Shields charging. His squadron, Eagle Wing, was ready for their supply run to the forward fleet positions. It should have been a routine mission. The flight path was through neutral space, far from any combat zones. Sang-hoon had flown it twice before without incident. Today would be different. Eagle Lead. This is Eagle 6. A voice crackled over his communication system. I'm getting strange readings on long-range sensors. Multiple contacts. A lot of them. Sang-hoon pulled up his sensor display. His blood went cold. 50 enemy ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly in their path. Not just Vrelian ships. He saw Kresh designs, Yoltan warships, Fianvar cruisers. The 3 species that had allied with the Vrelians. They had been planning this. All Eagles, combat formation, Sang-hoon ordered. Prepare for evasive action! His squadron was 12 fighters. 12 against 50. The mathematics were simple and brutal. They could not win. They probably could not even survive. But they were human, and humans did not run. The enemy fleet opened fire, space filled with missiles and energy beams. Sang-hoon's fighter dodged left, then rolled right. Around him, his squadron scattered, each pilot trying to avoid the overwhelming firepower. Eagle 4 is hit. Someone screamed over the communication channel. Sang-hoon saw the explosion in his peripheral vision. One of his people was gone. Eagle Lead, we need to retreat, Eagle 6 said. There was panic in her voice. We can't fight this many. Sang-hoon's finger hovered over the retreat command. Every instinct told him to give that order. To save who he could. To run. Then he remembered something Admiral Tae-yang had said during their briefing. When the galaxy watches, every action teaches a lesson. Show them what humans are willing to sacrifice. Show them what we fight for. Sang-hoon switched his communication channel to public broadcast. Every ship in the system could hear him now. All Eagles, this is Lead. I'm transmitting our engagement live to Earth Command and Council stations. What we do in the next few minutes, the galaxy will watch. Let them see what happens when they underestimate humans. Sir, they'll see us die, Eagle 6 said quietly. Yes, Sang-hoon replied. They will. But they'll also see that we chose to fight. That we chose to face impossible odds rather than abandon our mission. Sometimes the lesson is worth the cost. Eagles, attack pattern Theta. Let's show them how humans die. His squadron formed up. 12 fighters against 50 warships. They accelerated toward the enemy fleet. The galaxy watched. Ambassador Jiwoo sat in her quarters on Axis Prime, monitoring the live feed from Sang-hoon's engagement. Around her, her staff watched in silence. They all knew what they were seeing. A suicide mission. 12 brave pilots throwing their lives away. But Jiwoo saw something else. She saw an opportunity. Record everything, she ordered. Every second of this battle. I want full documentation. On her screen, Eagle Wing dove into the enemy formation. Sang-hoon's fighter fired missiles at a Kresh cruiser, scoring hits on its engine section. The cruiser returned fire, but Sang-hoon was already gone, spinning away in a maneuver that should have torn his fighter apart from the G-forces. Human pilots trained harder than any species in the galaxy. They pushed their bodies to limits that other species considered suicidal, now that training showed its value. Eagle 3 is gone, someone shouted over the broadcast. Another explosion lit up the darkness. 10 fighters left. Then 9. The enemy fire was relentless, but the Eagles were accomplishing something the Allied fleet had not expected. They were causing damage. Real damage. Sang-hoon's squadron was not just dying. They were fighting. Every missile counted. Every shot mattered. Eagle Lead, my fighter is critical. Eagle 6 called. Engines failing, life support at 15%. Eject, Sang-hoon ordered. Get to a pod. Negative, Lead, I still have weapons. I still have one more shot. There was a pause. Tell my family I chose this. Tell them I made it count. Eagle 6's fighter accelerated to maximum speed. She aimed directly at a Yoltan battleship. The enemy tried to shoot her down, but she was too fast, too determined. Her fighter, already damaged and dying, became a missile itself. The impact destroyed Eagle 6's fighter instantly, but the relativistic speed of the collision turned her small craft into a devastating weapon. The Yoltan battleship's shields collapsed. The explosion ripped through its hull, triggering secondary detonations. Within seconds, the massive warship was breaking apart. The debris field from the destruction spread outward. Pieces of the battleship, traveling at tremendous speeds, slammed into 3 nearby ships. 2 more Allied vessels were crippled. 8 fighters left. But now the enemy fleet was more cautious. They had learned that human pilots, even in their final moments, were dangerous. Sang-hoon's tactical computer showed the mathematics. His squadron could not win, but they could hurt the enemy. They could make every death expensive. They could teach the galaxy that fighting humans, even when you outnumbered them, came with a terrible cost. All Eagles, pattern Delta, he ordered. We're not trying to survive. We're trying to do maximum damage. Make every shot count. Make them remember this. His remaining squadron mates acknowledged. They knew they were dying. They had known from the moment they saw the enemy fleet. But they were dying on their terms, taking enemies with them. Back on Axis Prime, Ambassador Jiwoo watched the final minutes of the battle. Eagle Wing fought until only Sang-hoon's fighter remained. His ship was damaged, barely functional. He had no shields. His weapons were depleted, but he still fought. Then something unexpected happened. Sang-hoon's fighter engine suddenly flared. He was not retreating. He was accelerating, directly toward a Kresh battlecruiser. His speed increased beyond normal safety limits. The G-forces must have been crushing. This is Eagle Lead. Sang-hoon's voice crackled over the broadcast. To anyone watching this, remember what you saw here. Remember that humans do not surrender. We do not quit. You want to fight us? This is what it costs. His fighter slammed into the battlecruiser's engine core at relativistic speed. The explosion was tremendous. The battlecruiser shattered. But more than that, the explosion created a debris field that spread through the enemy formation. Pieces of the battlecruiser, moving at incredible speeds, hit ship after ship. The carefully organized enemy fleet became chaos. When the battle ended, the Allied fleet had lost 11 ships. 11 ships destroyed by 12 human fighters. The mathematical exchange rate was almost even. But everyone watching understood the real message. Humans would fight against any odds. They would turn certain death into victory. They would make every battle cost more than the enemy wanted to pay. Jiwoo waited 3 hours. Then she called for an emergency council session. The council chamber was full. Every species wanted to hear what Earth had to say. Jiwoo walked to her platform. Behind her, on the massive screen, the battle footage played on a loop. 12 fighters facing 50 ships. Eagle 6's sacrifice, Sang-hoon's final attack. You all watched the battle, Jiwoo said. Her voice was steady. 12 human pilots against 50 Allied warships. My people did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought until they won. Won. The Kresh ambassador stood up, his multiple arms waving in anger. Your squadron was destroyed. Every pilot died. You call that winning? Yes, Jiwoo said simply. Because our objective was not survival. Our objective was to teach you a lesson. To show you that fighting humans comes with a price you cannot afford to pay. She pulled up new data. The 3 species that allied with the Vrelians did so thinking this would be an easy war. That humanity would back down when faced with superior numbers. Today you learned differently. Today, 50 of your best warships barely defeated 12 human fighters, and in the process you lost 11 ships. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species defended the Allied attack. Others questioned it. But Jiwoo was not done. I have something else to show you, she said. She uploaded a new file. These are communication intercepts. Messages between the Kresh, Yoltan, and Finvar governments, sent 2 months ago before they publicly allied with the Vrelians. The messages played on every screen. Secret negotiations between the 3 allied species. Plans to use the war as an opportunity. After Earth defeated the Vrelians, the Allies would step in. They would claim Vrelian territory for themselves. They would expand their own empires while Earth was weakened from fighting. They were not defending the Vrelians. They were planning to betray them. The Vrelian ambassador, High Executor Threndel, stood slowly. His face showed shock and rage. Is this true? Were our allies planning to carve up our empire? The Kresh ambassador tried to speak, but Threndel cut him off. You made us think we had support. You convinced us to continue fighting. And all along you were planning to steal our worlds. The alliance shattered in that moment. The 3 species started arguing with each other. With the Vrelians, with the council. Jiwoo watched it all with a calm expression. Later, in her private quarters, her assistant approached. Ambassador, how did you get those communication intercepts? Those were classified military channels. One drop of blood, and Earth set the galaxy. Ablaze, the Vrelian homeworld of Rel Prime, was the most heavily defended planet in their empire. 3 orbital defense stations, 50 military satellites, a fleet of 200 warships in constant patrol, ground-based shield generators that could withstand planetary bombardment. It was, by any measure, impenetrable. Captain Haywan's Ghost Protocol team infiltrated it in 4 hours. They did not use brute force. They did not fight their way through defenses. They simply slipped past them. Human stealth technology had advanced far beyond what the galaxy imagined. While other species relied on energy shields and massive weapons, humans had perfected the art of not being seen. 20 soldiers, 1 small insertion craft. They landed in the wilderness 300 miles from the capital city. Then they walked. Well, they did not exactly walk. They moved like shadows. Their suits bent light around them. Their movements made no sound. Thermal sensors could not detect them. Motion trackers saw nothing. They were ghosts in the truest sense. It took them 3 days to reach the capital. 3 days of moving through one of the most militarized zones in the galaxy. They passed guard posts, walked through security checkpoints, moved under the noses of soldiers who never knew they were there. Haywan led her team to the central government complex, the building where High Executor Threndil and his council ruled an empire of billions. The most secure location on the most secure planet in Vrelian space. They were inside the building in an hour. Haywan's mission was simple. But it was not what anyone expected. High Executor Threndil sat in his private chambers reviewing battle reports. The war was not going well. 23 colony worlds had been lost to Earth. The alliance with the Kresh, Yoltan, and Finvar had collapsed. His military advisors were telling him that they could not win, but he could not surrender. The shame would destroy the Vrelian Empire more certainly than any human weapon. His door opened. A guard entered. "Executor, the evening security report is ready." "Leave it on my desk," Threndil said without looking up. "Of course." The guard placed a datapad on the desk and left. Threndil finished his current report, then reached for the datapad. He touched the activation button. The screen lit up. But it was not a security report. It was a video. A human woman in military uniform stared back at him. "Good evening, High Executor Threndil. My name is Captain Haywan of Earth's Ghost Protocol Unit. I am recording this message from your private chambers. You can check the timestamp. I recorded this 30 seconds ago." Threndil jumped to his feet. He looked around wildly. His chambers were empty. The door was locked from the inside, as it always was. "How is this possible?" The video continued. "By the time you watch this, my team and I will be gone. We were in your building for 2 hours. We walked through your security checkpoints. We stood outside your council meetings. We could have killed you. We could have killed your entire government. But we chose not to." The screen changed. It showed footage of Ghost Protocol moving through the government complex. Haywan walked right past guards who never saw her. Her team stood in hallways where Vrelian officials passed within arm's reach. The footage showed them in Threndil's own chambers, standing next to his desk while he worked. "We are leaving you a gift." Haywan's voice continued. "We have deactivated every orbital defense platform, every military satellite. Your ground shield generators are offline. Your communication systems are down. This will last for approximately 4 hours before your technicians can restore basic functions." Threndil's hands shook as he touched his communication panel. Dead. He tried his emergency backup system. Also dead. His personal security alarm. Nothing worked. "During these 4 hours," Haywan said, "your homeworld is completely defenseless. Admiral Taeyang's fleet is currently in orbit above you. They could destroy your entire civilization. End the Vrelian Empire forever. Kill billions of your people." The screen showed new footage. Human warships in orbit. Weapons locked on targets across the planet. Ready to fire. "But they will not fire," Haywan said. "Because we are not you. We do not murder civilians. We do not kill those who cannot fight back. We are showing you that we could end your species. But we choose not to. Remember this moment, Executor. Remember that humanity had mercy when you had none." The video ended. The screen went black. Threndil stood in his chambers staring at the empty screen. His homeworld was defenseless. Earth could destroy everything he had built. everything his people had achieved. And they were choosing not to. Why? Why show mercy to an enemy? It made no sense to his understanding of warfare. Then he understood. This was not mercy. This was a lesson. Earth was teaching the Vrelian Empire the difference between what they could do and what they would do. They were proving that humans fought according to principles, not just power. Across Vrel Prime, citizens watched their communication systems come back online. The first thing they saw was footage of Ghost Protocol walking through their capital, 20 human soldiers who had infiltrated the most secure location in the Empire. Who could have killed them all? Who chose to walk away? The psychological impact was devastating. The Vrelian military had failed to protect their homeworld. Their leadership could not even protect themselves. If humans could do this once, they could do it again. Anytime they wanted. Within hours, protests began in the streets. Vrelian citizens demanded answers. How could their military let this happen? How could their vaunted defenses be bypassed so easily? The government tried to calm the panic. They claimed it was a trick, that the footage was false. But too many people had seen the disabled defense systems. Too many had watched as their supposedly secure homeworld sat helpless under human guns. The Vrelian Empire began to crack. On Axis Prime, Council Arbiter Kelvesh called for another emergency session. But this time he did not wait for ambassadors to argue. He took the central platform himself. I have served this council for 300 years, Kelvesh said. His ancient voice carried authority that silenced every other being in the chamber. In that time I have witnessed thousands of conflicts. Wars of conquest. Wars of resources. Wars of territory. But I have never witnessed anything like what humanity is doing. He pulled up displays showing the war's progression. 23 Vrelian worlds claimed. Not destroyed claimed. The populations evacuated. The worlds terraformed for human habitation. Not one civilian casualty that Earth had directly caused. Humanity's warfare is not about destruction, Kelvesh continued. It is about education. Every action they take is designed to teach a lesson. They could have destroyed the Vrelian Empire in the first week of this war. They have the weapons. They have the ships. They have demonstrated capabilities that surpass our understanding. He showed footage of Ghost Protocol's infiltration. 20 soldiers walked into the most secure location in Vrelian space. They could have killed the entire government. Instead, they left a message about mercy, about restraint, about the difference between power and morality. The chamber was silent. Everyone understood what Kelvesh was saying. This war was not just about the Vrelian Empire anymore. It was about the entire galactic civilization. We have operated under a flawed system, Kelvesh said. We put prices on lives. We accepted that deaths could be compensated with credits. We allowed empires to murder with impunity as long as they paid the blood price. Humanity has shown us how corrupt that system is. He turned to Ambassador Jiwoo. Ambassador, I have reviewed your proposal, the One Life Doctrine, that every death requires full investigation and accountability, that life cannot be reduced to a monetary value. Jiwoo stood. Yes, Arbiter. That is what humanity demands. It is a radical change, Kelvesh said. It will fundamentally alter how galactic civilization operates. Yes, Jiwoo agreed. It will make life sacred instead of negotiable. It will force every species to think carefully before taking actions that might kill others. It will make the galaxy better. Kelvesh was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unprecedented. He turned to the entire council. I am calling for a vote, not on whether to accept Earth's demands, but on whether to accept Earth's principles. Should the Galactic Council adopt the One Life Doctrine? Should we make every sentient death a matter requiring full accountability? The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species immediately agreed. Others hesitated. A few protested loudly, but the vote was called. And when the results appeared, Jiwoo felt tears in her eyes. 70% of the council voted yes. The One Life Doctrine would become galactic law. Far from the council, Dr. Bora sat in her studio, preparing another broadcast. But this one would be different. This one would be her last psychological warfare message. Citizens of the Vrelian Empire, she said gently, the war is ending. Not because you surrendered. Not because we defeated you, but because you are learning. You are understanding what you did wrong. You are seeing that life has value beyond calculations. She showed footage of the Unity's promise, the moment it was destroyed. The 73 lives that ended. This is where it started. One moment. One decision to fire weapons at an unarmed ship. That decision led to everything that followed. Then she showed footage of Vrelian evacuations, families leaving their worlds, children carrying toys. One drop of blood, and Earth set the galaxy. Ablaze High Executor Threndil stood at the window of his office, watching the human fleet approach. 200 human warships hung in orbit around Vrel Prime. His own defense fleet, what remained of it, was nowhere near large enough to fight them. But he was not planning to fight. On his desk lay a document. A treaty, written by Earth. He had read it 17 times in the past 3 hours. Every time he struggled to believe what it said, a knock at his door. "Enter," Threndil said. Ambassador Jiwoo walked in. She was alone. No guards, no security. Just one human woman walking into the office of the leader of an empire that had tried to destroy her species. "Ambassador," Threndil said, "you are brave to come here alone." "No," Jiwoo replied. "I am not brave. I am simply showing trust, something your empire forgot how to do." Threndil gestured to the treaty on his desk. "I have read your terms. I do not understand them. You have defeated us. You have proven you can take any world you want. You could destroy my entire species, but instead you offer this." Jiwoo sat down. "Tell me what confuses you. All of it." Threndil's forearms spread wide. "You demand we dismantle our empire, split into smaller independent colonies, accept human supervision for 3 generations. These terms are harsh, humiliating even." "Yes," Jiwoo agreed. "But then you offered to relocate every Vrelian to suitable worlds. You promised to provide resources, food, medicine, technology. You offer to help us rebuild our civilization." He stared at her. "Why? Why not simply destroy us and take everything?" Jiwoo looked at him steadily. "Because destruction was never our goal. Understanding was our goal. We wanted you to understand the value of life, the cost of taking it carelessly, the importance of treating every death as something sacred and terrible." "We killed 73 humans," Threndil said quietly. "You have taken 23 of our worlds in response. By my calculations, you have 50 more worlds to claim to fulfill your declaration. Why stop now?" "Because you have learned," Jiwoo said. "Your empire is broken. Your people understand what they did wrong. Your government is being held accountable by your own citizens. Continuing to punish you serves no purpose. Our goal was never revenge. It was justice. And justice has been served." Threndil sat down slowly. "In 300 years of leadership, no enemy has ever spoken to me this way. With compassion, even while showing strength. Your species is strange, Ambassador, terrifying and merciful at the same time. We are human," Jiwoo said simply. "We fight fiercely for what we believe in. But we also believe in second chances, in redemption, in the possibility that even those who have done wrong can learn and grow." She stood up. "The treaty is on your desk. Sign it and this war ends. Your people live. Your civilization continues, just in a different form. Refuse to sign and we will claim the remaining 50 worlds. The choice is yours." Threndil looked at the document. Then he looked at the woman who had given his species a chance they did not deserve. He reached for his writing instrument. "One question first," he said. "What happens after 3 generations? When human supervision ends?" "You will be free," Jiwoo said. "Free to rebuild your empire if you choose. Free to rejoin galactic civilization as full members. Free to prove that you have learned the lessons this war taught. And if we have not learned? If we return to our old ways?" Jiwoo's expression became hard. "Then we will teach you again. But more severely. There will not be a third chance." Threndil nodded slowly. He signed the treaty. Admiral Tae-Yang stood in his quarters aboard the Righteous Fury. He held the photograph of his daughter in his hands. The smiling face that he would never see again except in pictures and memories. A message came through his communication system. "Admiral, the treaty has been signed. High Executor Threndil has surrendered." Tae-Yang closed his eyes. The war was over. 23 worlds claimed. Hundreds of ships destroyed. Thousands of enemy soldiers killed. And his daughter was still dead. The treaty did not bring her back. The victory did not ease his pain, but it meant something. It meant that her death had forced change, that the galaxy would never again treat life as cheap, that future ambassadors, future diplomats, future people on peaceful missions would be safer because of what had happened. "Acknowledge the message," Tae-Yang said. "Begin withdrawal procedures." We are going home. He looked at his daughter's photograph one more time. I hope you are proud of what we did. I hope you understand why we fought, not for revenge, not for conquest, but to make the galaxy better, to make it safer for the next generation. He placed the photograph in his uniform pocket over his heart. Then he walked to his bridge to give the orders that would bring his fleet home. 6 months later, the Galactic Council held a ceremony. It was being broadcast to every member world. Billions of beings watched. Council Arbiter Kelvesh stood at the central platform. Today we honor those who have changed our civilization forever. We implement the One Life Doctrine, which states that every sentient death requires full investigation and accountability, that life cannot be measured in credits or calculated as acceptable losses. He gestured to Ambassador Jiwoo. Earth has shown us that peace requires more than treaties. It requires principles. It requires being willing to fight for what is right, even when the cost is high. The ceremony continued with speeches from various species. Some praised Earth, some admitted they had been wrong, some simply acknowledged that the galaxy had changed forever. But the most important part of the ceremony was what came next. A new memorial was unveiled. It stood in the main plaza of Axis Prime. 73 pillars of crystal, each one carved with a name and a face. The crew of the Unity's promise. The people whose deaths had started a war that ended an era. Lieutenant Sang-hoon stood in the crowd watching the ceremony. He had survived the battle against the Allied fleet. His escape pod had been recovered by human search and rescue. Now he wore a new uniform. He had been promoted to captain. He commanded a new squadron. Eagle Wing, rebuilt and reformed. His mission was different now. Instead of fighting, he protected. Earth had taken on a new role in the galaxy. They were guardians, protectors of diplomatic vessels from all species, ensuring that what happened to the Unity's promise never happened again. Captain Sang-hoon, a voice said behind him. He turned to see Dr. Bora. I wanted to thank you for what you did. Your sacrifice in that battle. It changed everything. It showed the galaxy what humans are willing to give for what we believe in. Sang-hoon shook his head. I did not sacrifice anything, Doctor. I survived. The real heroes were my squadron. The ones who did not make it home. They did not die in vain, Dr. Bora said gently. Because of them, because of all the humans who fought in this war, the galaxy is better, safer, more just. Captain Haiwan stood in a different part of the ceremony. Her Ghost Protocol team was receiving medals from Earth's government, medals they would never wear in public, because their unit still needed to operate in secret. But the recognition mattered. What they had done mattered. Captain, one of her soldiers, Quan, approached. What do we do now? The war is over. We won. We did not win, Haiwan corrected. We taught. There is a difference. Winning means you defeated your enemy. Teaching means you changed them. Made them better. That is what we did. So what comes next? Haiwan looked around at the ceremony, at the memorial to the dead, at the representatives from dozens of species who were learning new ways to interact with each other. Next, we make sure the lessons stick. We watch, we protect. We remain ready in case anyone forgets what this war taught them. 1 year after the treaty was signed, on a Vrelian colony world now supervised by human administrators, a small school held classes. Vrelian children sat at desks learning new subjects: history, science, ethics. Dr. Bora had volunteered to teach some of the ethics classes. She believed that education was the key to lasting change, that children who learned the right lessons would build a better future. A young Vrelian child, no more than 8 years old by human standards, raised their hand. Teacher Bora, I have a question. Yes? Dr. Bora smiled encouragingly. Why did humans fight so hard for only 73 deaths? The galaxy has billions of beings. 73 is such a small number. Why did it matter so much? Dr. Bora knelt down next to the child's desk. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment when she could teach the most important lesson of all. Because every life matters, she said gently. If we say that 73 deaths are too few to care about, then we have decided that some lives do not matter. And once we make that decision, we start asking, what about 100 deaths? What about 1,000? Where do we draw the line? She pulled up images on her tablet. The faces of the Unity's Promise crew. These 73 people had names, had families, had dreams. Each one was unique, irreplaceable. When your empire killed them, they did not just end 73 lives. They destroyed 73 entire universes of experiences and possibilities. The child thought about this carefully. So humans believe every life is equally important, no matter how many or how few? Yes, Dr. Bora said. That is exactly right. Whether one person dies or 1 million, each individual death is a tragedy. Each one requires us to stop and think about what was lost. Each one demands that we do better. Be better.